Hello, Monsters Abound here, and welcome to a quick look at a demo of Terra Invicta. If you don't know what Terra Invicta is, it is an XCOM-like game, but it's more like an XCOM grand strategy. So rather than following an organisation that's fighting aliens on the ground in tactical battles, it's a much more sort of like zoom. Rather than looking at the men and women on the ground, it says, I'm not interested in that. I want to know more about the shadowy council guy with the Optimus Prime voice. Or rather the people that get his coffee. So this follows the same sort of XCOM formula in that you're fighting against an alien threat, but in much more of a sort of a grand overview type way. So this has been made by the same people who did the Long War mod for XCOM and XCOM 2. Now if you've played XCOM or XCOM 2, then you will definitely have at least heard of the Long War mod. And this is their first game. It's being published by Hooded Horse, who are a fairly new publisher, but they've got a lot of really interesting games in their books, so definitely take a look at them. And the demo is currently on Steam, but only for the next few days, so if you like the look of this, rush over there and take a look now. So this game starts in the far distant future of September 2022, when an alien spacecraft crashes into the planet Earth. Now that causes a little bit of a stir, and several different organizations sort of arise with different ideologies, different ideas of how to deal with the arrival of aliens on the planet Earth. So in the demo you can play as the Resistance, one of these factions. You can play as the others in the full game, which will be out later this year, I believe. Now, the Resistance is probably the most XCOM-like of all of the factions in that they want to resist the alien invasion. They believe the aliens turning up is a threat, it's an invasion, it needs to be resisted. But there's other factions as well, such as the Academy, who want to sort of cooperate with the aliens. There is the Initiative, or kind of like an Illuminati. They just want to profit from the alien arrival. There's Project Exodus, who just want to get the fuck away from Earth. They think that the cause is lost, we need to get out of here. And there's the Servants, who want to sort of submit to the aliens. You know, choke me harder with your tentacle, daddy. And there's also the Humanity First. They're racists. I mean, they'll tell you some of their best friends are aliens, but they're not. And depending on which faction you play, the game will probably be fairly similar, but it seems like the objectives and how to win and potentially some of the missions you can do will be slightly different. So at the start of the game, and I do think this game is one that kind of moves in phases. At the start of the game, you start off with the planet Earth, as it is, with various different nations, and the idea is that you need to start creating a base of public support. Now to do that, you're going to use your councillors. You start off with 2 councillors, but you can recruit up to 4 to start off with, and then you can get 2 more via research. Now your councillors are sort of how you interact with the campaign map, with countries, with other councillors, that kind of thing. So your councillors all sort of have a subset of what they are. So for example, we have Jiang Fan here, he's a fixer. So that will sort of determine his starting stats, and also the types of missions he'll have available to him. So types of missions, these are the ones that they can perform, and different subsets will have access to different missions. So for example, if we have a look at Sasanti here, she's an activist, so she can control nation, do coups, public campaigns, set national policy, so all sort of like influencer things. Missions can be performed on, for example, control nation can be performed on countries, advise can be performed on countries, Inspire can be formed on councillors, turn councillor can be performed on councillors. You can also orbit and deorbit, control space asset, all that kind of stuff, which we'll get to later. And these missions all rely on a stat to determine how successful it is going to be. Now things like, control nation and public campaign require persuasion. But you can see there's a whole bunch of other stats here: persuasion, investigation, espionage, command, administration, science, security, and loyalty. Councillors also have traits and augmentation. So these are various different traits that they start off with. They can be changed actually, because you will gain experience over time, and you can either increase attributes, gain new traits, or remove traits that are bad. You can also, once you've researched it, sort of cybernetically enhance your councillors, so give them things like an intelligent assistant, for example. They also have incomes that can be got from their traits, and also organisations. Organisations are basically like little additions. I think it's supposed to be like the councillor, because they're supposed to be like the shadowy Optimus Prime guy from XCOM. That's basically what these guys are. So because of that, they'll have their fingers in many pies. And so, for example, you have like this organisation marketplace where you can pick up new organisations. Things like Mossad. But you need certain requirements to be able to get those. So you need to have a council with a government trait, and you also need to have a control point in Israel. But I think if we go along here somewhere, is that one? So there we are. So we've got the Sonteskia Bratva, which I think is some kind of criminal organisation in Russia. So we've got the criminal trait, and I control a control point in the Eurasian Union, or a councillor from there. So this gives me various different bonuses. So you can basically equip these companies to your councillors. Telsian here is probably the best councillor I have. He is an absolute beast. He's terrible at persuasion, but fantastic at everything else. And you can equip these organisations, and they give you various different bonuses and different incomes as well. So for example, this one here, the special activities section, I think it's basically like an XCOM organisation. It's one you get through doing research, so it's specific to the resistance. But it gives massive bonuses across the board. Really, really good. Very, very strong. Very, very strong organisation to equip. Your organisation capacity is determined by your administration, but some organisations increase administration. So the International Monetary Fund here actually increases administration by 8, which means that you can then equip more organisations to get more stats. So the way you do missions with your councillors is your councillor basically once a week in the early game, but then twice a month afterwards. You enter these assignment phases. So the game pauses and you need to confirm assignments. So you can send your guys to go and do various different missions. So for example, Sasanti here is doing a public order campaign, public opinion campaign in the United Kingdom. I'm doing a public campaign there. Telsian is investigating some abductions in what looks like Cornwall. And
acknowledged.
Adamo is also doing that. I don't need 2 people doing that. I just need 1. Tell you what, do a survey France. I suspect there's some alien bullshit going on here. That's my guess. Jiang, what do I want you to do? You know what? I do a surveillance in here.
On Overwatch.
Now, at the start of the game, you don't control any nations. You have no sort of like base of operations to work from. However, if we swap the map to facts you control, we can actually see who controls each country currently. Now, I'm the blue colour. I control the Eurasian Union, China, the United States, and the United Kingdom. I also control Iran, for some reason. Now, start of the game, no country is controlled. So the beginning phase is sort of like a scramble to get some countries under your control. Now, depending on the country, it can be easier or harder to get them under your control. Ideally, what you need to do is increase public opinion by using public opinion campaigns. At the start of the game, the Academy has quite a lot of public opinion across Europe, because it's all like they you know, at the start you think maybe the aliens want to be friends. When it quickly turns out they don't want to be friends, public opinion drops for the Academy. So you want to send your councillors to do control nation missions. That will then start giving you control of the control points in a country. Now, these control points are like facets of the country. So, for example, in Russia's case, it's national industries, security apparatus, oligarchs, and the executive. for the United States, they've got a few more control points. There's things like financial sector, identity blocks, corporations, mass media, legislation, and the executive. So as you gain control of these, they'll give you various different bonuses, income, research, that kind of stuff. When you've got control of the executive, then you're basically embedded in the government of that country, and therefore you can do various things with it. For example, currently the Eurasian Union is allied with the United States and China. And I think I might be able to... I can't ally with China yet, but I think I will be able to fairly soon. Now, what that means is that in the event that someone declares war on one of the countries that I control, I can use the other countries to help out. Because you can wage conventional warfare. You'll see that there's armies here, and if you control the node that they exist on, so you can see from these little stars on the control point, then you can basically control that army. I can tell this army to go wherever I like. I can deploy them over there. And what this means is if you rival a neighbouring country, you can invade it. And that's what I kind of did with Russia, because Russia would start off as Russia. But I gained control of Kazakhstan, and then I gained control of Russia. And then what I did was I merged the two of them. I created the Eurasian Union. And the reason I did that is because you can only control a set number of control points. Now, each country has a number of control points, but what you can do is amalgamate countries into one big sort of blob. So, for example, at the beginning of the game, Russia and the Ukraine are at war. And I took control of Russia and then completed the war in the Ukraine. Sorry, Ukrainians, but we're being invaded by aliens, needs must. And so rather than Ukraine having its own control points, it's now part of the Eurasian Union, and so we don't have those separate control points anymore. Makes it a lot easier to defend as well. So later on you can get technology that will allow you to sort of like create bigger confederations. So I think there's like a confederation that allows you to create a big blob in Africa. There's like the Pan-Asian Confederation or something. I think you can like confederate the whole of America, that kind of thing. Alternatively, you can split things up. For example, you could like split the United States of America up into individual countries. So lots of stuff you can do there. Why would you want to do that? I'm not entirely sure, but potentially you could. It's an option. So the first phase of the game is sort of like scrabbling for control of these countries, and then once you've got control of them, you then sort of like change into a phase where you're then trying to undermine your opponents and sort of remove control of their countries, limit their power, and trying to stop them from undermining you. Then the game moves on to another phase, because you can't deal with the aliens on Earth. The aliens just keep crashing ships into our planet. Why? I don't know. Maybe they're just terrible drivers. Who knows? But they're up to stuff. They're up to alien shenanigans, alien bullshit. But to stop them, we're going to have to go up and get them, because they ain't coming down here. They're based at the far edges of the solar system. So to reach them, we're going to have to go out there, and we're going to have to meet them on their home turf. Which means you need to colonize the moon. So already you can see that several of the organizations or factions have bases on the moon, including me. I've got my little base there. You can also create orbital stations. So I've got a couple of those as well. So where's my orbital station? Ah, there's one. There we go. That one. There we go. The Oliver Hazard Perry station. So that's my little station there. If we look at that, you can see there we are. We've got a xenology lab, another xenology lab, and a fission pile to produce energy to power those. And you've got different things you can build there, and I think you can then expand it into different. You can make it bigger and bigger, and eventually I think you can like create habs on it to actually have like a proper space station with people living on it. That kind of thing, which is really, really cool. But you need to go further than that. We need to go to Mars. And in fact, that's already something I've done. I've already got a little Mars base there. But it takes a long time to get stuff to Mars at the start of the game. So in fact, if we have a look at... so there's my Mars base there. So I've got some mining going on because there's different resources available. The moon doesn't have much in the way of resources, but Mars is a lot better, and various different planets in the solar system will give you various different resources. But we need to go further than that. We need to go all the way out. Now, currently, I believe the aliens are based over here. And it takes me about a year to ship stuff to Mars from Earth, which means that to get out there is going to take me significantly longer. At my current tech level anyway, because of course there is research. There's a massive research tree. So you have global research here. So this is research that all of the factions sort of contribute to. And there's also like personal research. So this is your own personal research. So basically you have global research. That research is various different things. That then opens up personal research that you can do. So you can then do that. The tech tree is pretty big. I view the full tech tree there. Eventually. There we go. There's a lot of stuff to research here, so this will keep you pretty busy for quite a while. Certainly. Jesus, look at it all. It's just massive. So, you're going to be busy for quite a while, and that's very much, I think, the idea behind this game. It's a marathon rather than a sprint. Now, while it is a grand strategy, there is tactical gameplay, because there are fleet battles. Now, there's currently a skirmish in the demo that lets you play a 3v3 with various different ships from the Resistance versus ships from the aliens. But basically, eventually you'll be creating your own ship. So we can design a ship class here. I can auto design somewhere. Auto design. There we go. There's our ship. It's not going to be very good to start off with. It's going to be pretty shit. All this stuff is pretty garbage. And also, we don't really have the resources to build it yet. So, to start off with, I mean, this has a combat performance of 5. I think even the scout alien ships have something like 300 or 400? 3k. Yeah, I don't think we'll be taking on the aliens anytime soon, at least not one-on-one. Now, the alien ships will go and do different things. Currently, this one seems to be moving over here, and it should be said that, like, there's so much stuff, and this is the medium solar system. This isn't even the proper full one. You can pick the size of the solar system, and I picked medium. This is medium solar system, not even the big one. We look at Jupiter, it's got 16 fucking moons, some of them with 16 base slots. Like, it's massive. This game is huge, and it's very exciting. I'd kind of seen this game and was like, oh, that looks interesting, but having played it, I genuinely cannot wait to get my hands on the full game. It should be coming out later this year. It looks absolutely fantastic from what I've played so far. I genuinely am very excited about this. As I say, the demo's out for a few more days until the 20th of June, I believe. So get to Steam, give it a try. The one thing I will say is the tutorial is fucking awful. The tutorial is absolute garbage. It's pretty bad. The best way to learn is to just kind of give it a try yourself and learn from your mistakes, and then just keep plugging away at it. And there's still some things I don't understand in this game already. So, for example, public order. Now, public opinion, I should say, public opinion is makes doing actions on certain countries easier or harder. So the more support you have, the easier it is to do things like control country, do missions in a country, that kind of thing. Now, for some reason, the United Kingdom, despite the fact I control it, is the public opinion for the servants is pretty high, and I suspect it's alien bullshit, but I don't know, and I don't know how to find out. So I'm very confused about that. I genuinely don't know what's going on there. And the game's not very good at explaining stuff to you, unfortunately. But still, that's a very small niggle for a game that is set to be absolutely fantastic. So go and grab the demo if you still have time. Give it a try. Let me know what you think. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.